statement side for those that haven't met. Again, welcome. And what we're going to do in this session is really talk about how you practically develop requirements for your SharePoint projects, large scale or small scale. My approach is very practical. While I have a lot of industry background around processes and project management, I have actual background in ITIL, original ITIL, ITIL. Anybody have 6 Sigma kind of background? What kind of belt do you guys have? Black, blue, green? Green. All right, perfect. I'm not going to talk about this stuff. That's all academic. I'm talking about real world, what works, at least for me, and take it with a grain of salt. Okay, so before we get started, first and foremost, just want to do a quick poll. Who's on 2010? Everyone 2010. Okay, good. Who's on 2013? All right, great. Who's in the cloud? Okay, good. Who's thinking about going to the cloud? Who in here, would your users love SharePoint to death? All right. Who in your organizations, at least your users, love SharePoint, hate it? SharePoint sucks. All right, that's fine. We're all here together. We're sharing this therapy session here. So, if you go back to work, here's a piece of advice. To me, whenever somebody tells me SharePoint sucks, I look at them straight in the eye and say, you know what? SharePoint doesn't suck. You suck. It's a frigging tool. You're a tool, dogs. So, what I want to talk about in this session is understand and hopefully make SharePoint not suck from a business perspective, but more importantly, understand what it takes. And again, while I make a lot of humor out of this stuff, but in all seriousness, this is a very important step and an important process that we have to go through. And people get this anaphylactic reaction whenever they hear the word requirements, project management, boom, I didn't go to school for that. I'm not a PMP for that, so I'm not cut out. No. In the world of SharePoint, everybody has to do this, and it doesn't take weeks or years or a bunch of degrees. You can do this in a very practical manner. So, again, my name is Doug, so I'm an innovative lead, and I've been fortunate and privileged to be working with this technology, SharePoint, since 2000, even before it was called SharePoint. I have a heavy technical background. I started my career in assembler. Those with blank stares weren't born yet. But in the last few years, my deep passion and focus is really around maximizing the business value of a platform like SharePoint. So what we're going to talk about is something that's very relevant, not only in my world, but in your world too. I had the great opportunity to write one of the first business-focused books around SharePoint, SharePoint for Project Management. And for being here, guys, I'm going to give you a copy. I'm going to give you a code that you can use to download an ebook copy. And what you can do is just stop by our booth so we can get your contact info, and I promise I'll send you a copy. All right? Now, that's 80 cents a copy away from my son's college fund, but that's okay. So, let's get the conversation started, right? Why are requirements so difficult? And to prove my point, I want to do this quick exercise, and I need 4 volunteers. 4 brave souls. Ma'am, come on up. Sir, come on up. 2 more. Sir, come on up. And the gentleman in the back, come on up. Okay? And everybody in the audience, I need your participation too. So this is, I'm going to model what happens in the real world. Okay? So I'm the customer. I said I want this SharePoint thing. Okay? So we got these 4 brave people. What's your name, sir? Harris. Abby. Larry. Kevin. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to break them up into teams. And just like any other good customer, I need to pick which consultant I need to work with. So what we're going to do, you're 2 different sets of consultants. And just like any other consulting organization, you have an analyst. You're the analyst. You're the developer. Consultant company 1. You're the analyst. You're the developer. Consulting company 2. Y'all with me? Yeah. So here's what I want to do. I want the developers to please step out of the room. So please step out of the room. And Sarah, I may need your help in a second to call them back in. That's okay. So if you can close the door so they won't hear what we're doing here. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. I am the customer, and I have this SharePoint project in mind. So I'm going to test out these 2 companies to see which company I'm going to pick. So I'm going to give you the tools that you need to kind of help me with my requirements. So here's a very sophisticated tool called paper and pen. So here's the deal. So listen up. So what I want to do is I want this. Okay? In my mind, this is my SharePoint project. Well, hold on, you're not done. You're not done. What I want to do is for you to write pretty much a description or requirements of what I think is my SharePoint thing is. However, I'm not done. Since I don't have enough budget, there's limitations. You know how it is. You don't have budget for SharePoint projects. My limitations or constraints are, do not use the word triangle, star, square. So here's the deal. Can you start? Oh, yeah. No, you can look at a piece of paper. Yes, I need to follow instructions. The whole process is another SharePoint. So, alright, wait till I go. So, and see. Okay? Good job, right? So here's what I want you to do. Just write the word. You say, draw something that has point. Okay? Whatever. Alright? Ready? Okay, go. You got 1 minute. I need your participation. Just watch what happens. Seconds. I don't have time for this. It's sissy work. Alright, you done? Okay, good. Can I take that, please? Are you done? Good, big round of applause. Applause developers. Alright, so here's the thing, right? We got good analysts. Everybody company has good analysts. You didn't hear what I said, right? No. Okay, good. So here's the deal. I'm the customer, I talk to your analyst, and you kind of gather requirements as to what I wanted. So the next thing is you need to impress me, the customer. You need to build a prototype. And just to make it simple, these are the requirements, and all you have to do is to draw what they've written down. Okay? So one board each. And we'll give you about, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds to impress me as a customer and see if that's what I wanted, or that's what I told them. Alright, go. You understand the handwriting? Not really. Not going to be a problem. Do best you can.
Project's already behind schedule, but
I'm not sure how much easier. Okay? You got 20 more seconds, gang. September 30th, 12 o'clock. Wow. She's deploying solution packages now. All right. Thank you. For people who look forward with the copies here from Document, there you go. Come on over there. All right. Good. So, take your seats. First things first. Okay. Move this up front. How close are we? Let's see. You laugh, but you live in this world. Boss comes up, I just went to that conference. We want SharePoint now. So we'll laugh. So why do you think this happens all the time? I mean, I did my job. I got the analyst, I got the developer. Still not. Why? They didn't talk to each other. Lack of involvement from who? Tell the developer they can't talk. Did I say that they can't ask questions? Sir? Yeah. I mean, they took it at its face value. I just said you can't use square, triangle, star. Did they even ask the analyst that? What are they trying to do? Y'all with me? See, I live in this town, so I'm not politically correct. But a lot of so-called business analysts aren't business analysts. They're fast people. I like everyone. Besides, surveys are responsible for cycles from BCS. Thanks! Yeah, that's what we do. It doesn't work. So, what should we do? So, what we're going to talk about, gang, in the next, or the remaining of the time, is really dissect this idea of building requirements for SharePoint and why it's different than what we're used to. And provide you guidance and tools and techniques and tips on how you could be better. So first things first, let's talk about the fundamentals. What are requirements, right? What are requirements? Requirements, while customers or your users may say, I need this, I want that, well, that may be true. There's other things you have to consider. Requirements are something that are formal. It's not something over lunch. Wow, I got a good idea, Gus. What if we start hooking up SharePoint to this, that, the other? Well, that's okay. If you really want to do it, it has to be intentional. It has to be formal. Requirements would have capabilities needed to solve a problem. And we fail. Okay. You're ending points. The requirements happen. There you go. Requirements would have capabilities needed to solve the problem. And unfortunately, what do we do with SharePoint? We throw a toolbox, hey, here's SharePoint, go find a problem. What's your problem? Right? And last but not the least, requirements would have constraints. Which again, we don't constrain or we don't think about these constraints when we work with SharePoint users. Have you noticed? In a lot of organizations, whenever you walk around, well, I need something, oh, SharePoint can do that. Well, what about SharePoint can do that? What's the name of your mom? SharePoint. Oh, SharePoint for everything. Guess what? SharePoint doesn't do everything, nor so everything. Now, what's so special about SharePoint? Right? You see, a lot of times when we think requirements, especially us technologists, we're so caught up at this level, the technology. Almost always when I work with organizations, so we're based out of here in DC and Atlanta, we work with a lot of large organizations, helping them reap the business benefits of SharePoint. And almost always, they all have SharePoint already. It's either doing an upgrade or there's something to run. One of the first things I ask is, can can you tell me more about the requirements you had when you first put this in place? They go, of course, Doc. So they give me some document. And so Doc, here are requirements. 2 web front ends, 1 single server for the database, round robin redundancy, ADFS, authentication. They go, that's cool, but can you tell me more about the business requirement, the user requirement? What? We don't really have that. You spent $3 million on this? So how should you think about requirements in SharePoint? When you think about requirements in SharePoint, while the technical piece is obviously very important, you don't start there. You start at the business requirement level, and then from that, map it to user requirements that focus on the user, which has a lot to do with driving adoption. And then, based on that need, look at what the system requirements may be. Y'all follow me? By the way, this whole session is being recorded. I have a recording thing there. So, again, I'll send this to you too. You'll see a video and all my demos and all that good stuff. Now, how do you do this, Doc? Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick example, and then I'll dive into more details. How do you do this? So you talk a big game on business requirement, but give me a very practical example that I can take back and consider as I do this. So I said, first things first, we need to define a business need, okay? For example, how often does someone in your organization, in accounting or finance, have to deal with collecting a bunch of Excel files regularly and consolidating it to a single management report? You have people like that? The end of the month? Very simple. So what's the business need here? The business need here clearly, there's a lot of manual stuff. What if we can improve this process, streamline the process, make it more efficient? Y'all follow me? Okay, so let me show you an example, and then I'll go back to our conversation. So here's an example I want to show. Yes, I'm using a Mac. Get over it. So this is my intranet, my company's intranet. So one of the things we do, everything's there. Obviously I'm using 2013. But one of the things we do as good stewards of technology is not only do we use it for our intranet, our conversations, different departments, but all our projects are centralized on our intranet as well. So at any point in time, if we have any projects, large or small, we can have visibility into it. So what I just did, I went to my intranet, I click on projects, I have a high-level view of the different projects that we're running, but I want to focus on the specific project that we have. So I'm working on this specific project. It's called Executive Presentation Project. This project essentially is a high-profile project for my company because I'm helping the CEO build a presentation that he will present to the board. Y'all follow me? So I need a couple people help build this up, all that good stuff. And at any point in time, as you can see, we have a bunch of projects that's going on in the company. We have 100 of these projects at any point in time. Now, let's go back to the business unit. You see, one of the processes that we have in the company for projects is at the end of the month, project managers would have to send expense reports to Miss Sally in accounting. So Miss Sally in accounting, at the end of the month, in her email, she would get 100 email with Excel files, put it under my documents folder, consolidated to a single monthly expense report. Y'all follow me? So I talked to Miss Sally. I said, how much time do you spend doing this, Miss Sally? She goes, you know what, Doug? I spend about 7-8 hours total putting together this expense report every month. It's my job. I've been doing it for the last 9 years. I go to my email, look for those expense report, put it on my desktop, put the report. You know Miss Sally, right? I said, Miss Sally, what if I can help you cut this down in half, or maybe 2 hours? Instead of 7 hours, you're going to spend 5 hours instead of every month. Would you like that? She goes, of course, but. I go, but what? You see, Doc, I'm already 2 years away from retirement. I'm up for learning anything new, as long as it's in Excel. Because it's Excel is my tool of choice. I've been in accounting forever. If you're going to tell me to use a new tool or even use that thing called SharePoint, forget it. You know Miss Sally, right? All right. So let's go back to what we're thinking. What's the business need? And Sally is spending 7 hours doing all this manual stuff, which I know could be done better. I mean, there's a lot of different solutions. We could just tell her, go to the SharePoint site. But she also said, forget SharePoint, I love my Excel. Y'all follow me? Okay, so what do we do? All right, so I said, oh, Miss Sally, that could be done. There's a feature in Excel I'm going to show you. She goes, what? So here's the deal, Miss Sally. The new way that we're going to do this thing is instead of project manager sending you emails every month, we're going to tell them forget emails, put the expenses directly on the project site. In fact, it's actually better because everything about the project is already in that project site. You follow me? We'll put the expenses there as well. And as soon as they put it in, automatically it's going to show up in an Excel file sitting on your computer. You don't have to dig out emails, none of that stuff. If you like that, she goes, yeah, show me. So I say, all right, so Miss Sally, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create something simple here. So I'm going to pre-populate some information. Let's say we bought a projector for the project, which cost $500. We bought a computer for the project, which cost $1,000. Okay? And in fact, this is for the DC exec presentation project, whatever. Okay? So now, Miss Sally, here's what we're going to do. We enter this information, because you like it in Excel. I'm going to take this information, convert it to what's called an Excel table. And this is all out of the box, Miss Sally. I'm not installing anything. It's just in Excel. And once I convert it to an Excel table, notice a little menu popped up. You want to synchronize it with SharePoint. We go, yeah. So what I'm going to do next, friends, is I'm going to take the address of this SharePoint site and pop it into this pop-up box. Did I delete too much? I think I did. Okay, let's do this again. Because when I copied and pasted, it copied more than the URL. Copied pretty much the file name of the homepage. So we're going to call this the SPFest DC expense. Okay, let's call that and hit publish. So what's happening here, guys? As soon as I hit publish, and that's the power of a platform like SharePoint. Not only can you interact with it from the browser, it works seamlessly with other Microsoft products like Office. So when I hit publish, what happens is Excel talked to that project site, authenticated me, making sure I can do what I just did, and took the information, created a custom list, and published it, and kept the connection. So what happened here? So now, when I published it, that same piece of information is now in the project site as well. Y'all follow me? Now, what are we going to do next? So now let's step through the scenario. So I'm the kind of project manager who likes my Mac. That's just how I roll. I'm a Mac kind of person. And which is great with 2013 because it's all cross-platform, cross-browser compatible. So I just incurred some expense for this project. So I went to the project site, I went to the expense list, and I'm going to pop in my expense. So what I'm going to do here is enter my expense. I bought a car for 80 grand.
Porsche.
That's a cheap Porsche. Maybe on Craigslist, right? Now, if you didn't notice what I just did here, it's very subtle, but it's huge. It's datasheet view in Firefox on my Mac. That's huge. I love the datasheet view, but in the previous version, it's just in IE, right? So here's the deal. The project manager enters it. What's the new process again? Miss Sally doesn't have to deal with the email. Project manager enters it. And Miss Sally could have subscribed to an alert that every time this thing is updated, she gets an alert that there's a new expense. So now her job or her role is to come back and say, okay, I got a new expense. Let me synchronize this guy. And as soon as she synchronizes it, bada bing, bada boom, the same piece of data that was entered on the project site would now be made available in that Excel file sitting on her My Documents folder. But wait, there's more. If you buy in the next 2 hours, no. She's looking at the receipt, and she goes, you guys didn't buy a car, you bought a car, fit. And it was $800. So not only can she consume the information, but she can interact with it in the tool of her choice, which is Excel. No email. And she updates this thing and hits sync. So again, same thing. This same piece of information, let me hit sync just to make sure. This same piece of information, if we refresh it in the browser,
is now updated on the browser. Now the PMs are looking at the same thing as well. Now this is huge, right? I mean,
How many times have you had to update the same piece of data on a site, on Excel, on the most powerful database out there called Access? Sometimes we're getting, which one's the newest one again? Y'all with me? SharePoint Multi. No. Quick question.
who likes this feature? Okay. Who doesn't know about this feature? Some of you may be thinking, wow,
This is cool, but you're showing 2013. We don't have 2013. Guess what? This feature is not 2013. It's been there. You ready? Since Excel 03 and SharePoint 03. Now,
she learned how to connect this to 99 other project sites, and she created like a summary sheet. You know how in Excel you can have a summary sheet refer to data? So with her summary report, 3 months later I talked to her. She goes, "Docs, thank you for what you showed me. I don't have to deal with email. Information comes in, I just cross-reference it with receipts. And now, instead of spending 7 hours, I only spent 5 hours. And I did not even have to do overtime this month." What's value? She saved 2 hours. Company doesn't pay ROI, her overtime. There's that ROI. So I showed you this because I want to step back and talk about the process, right?
I showed you a very simplistic example, but my point is, requirements development is not just for big stuff. Oh, we're going to do a major upgrade, we need requirements. Of course. Even for something like this, it's critical that you do. Because, as you know, SharePoint can do 10,000 things, and sometimes nothing. How do you know what to do and what not to do?
So how do we tie all this together?
So if we want to map all this to the business level, SharePoint shall increase finance department's productivity by 15%. There's a lot of different use cases that we can look at. But the specific use case we looked at was around the salary processing expenses every month. Y'all follow me? So 7 hours with 15%. What's 7 hours? You smart enough here? Hour, I think? Hour and a half? Let's just say hour and a half. So she needs to save an hour and a half from 7 hours. That was the goal. So what would the user requirement be? Well, we could do a lot of different things, but as a part of change management and adoption, what the user would want, if possible, users shall be able to retrieve and synchronize project expense information in SharePoint from Excel without relying on email. What about from a technical perspective? What do we need? Microsoft Excel shall be able to synchronize information with a SharePoint site. Y'all follow me? There's another important point. Why it's critical. These days, a lot of companies invested heavily on SharePoint, spend a lot of money, and ends up nothing but a big file dump. And now people are questioning their investment on SharePoint. If all you're using it for is a file share, it's a very expensive file share. But if you start looking at business needs and utilizing SharePoint to help that, I mean, this salary for this one activity saved 2 hours every month. Imagine how much other business activities you can look at. And then there's this idea of traceability. You know, I was joking yesterday, but it's true. I was advising a organization doing an upgrade to 2013. The director, IT director, said, "Hey, Doc, check out what you think. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a bunch of site templates. We're going to use news feeds and wikis, all the social stuff." And whoa. Why? Just like you, very quiet, makes me insecure as an immigrant to this country that my English is not good enough. So I asked it differently. I said, "Okay." What are you talking about, Docs? Why do you want a wiki? Why do you want a newsfeed? Isn't that the big thing? Isn't social the hot buzz? Okay? What does newsfeed mean? It's the Miss Sally who's processing invoices every month. If you cannot answer that fundamental question, forget about it. Because to me, wikis, all they're good for is when I DJ at the club, right? Wiki.
But now if somebody asks me, why are you doing this Excel synchronization thing in the SharePoint site? Well, Miss Sally is comfortable using Excel, and that's her job. Why? Because she processes project expenses every month, and it's going to help her save 2 hours. Y'all with me? So how do you do this? What are the key steps? What are the areas? What are the processes you have to go through? What are some of the techniques you can do? So let me share 4 key steps. Regardless of what type of requirements you build, be it a business level requirement, user level, or system level, there's 4 key steps, and these steps aren't linear, meaning they're not really one goes after the other. It's very iterative. So for those who have heard about the agile methodology, iterative, so it essentially means, you kind of lather, rinse, and repeat kind of thing. But I'll just talk about each of these steps at a very foundational level, and then you'll understand where I'm going with this. So again, regardless of what type of requirements you're building, business, user, or system, these are the 4 key steps that you engage with. First step. First is you elicit requirements. Right? Now, what do we mean by elicitation? Can anybody define elicitation? What's that?
Yes.
Ask and what? There's 2 components of elicitation. What's that? Receive, ask. There's one more thing. Understand. Gather and understand. Notice I don't use the word gathering anywhere. There's a wrong understanding of anywhere you go, you read books, the requirements gathering. To me, that's order taking. When you elicit requirements, you gather and you make sense of it. Y'all with me? Miss Sally, I could have told her, hey, look, forget email, just go to the SharePoint project site. You see expense information right away. That's cool. It's easy. And that's what we do. Go to SharePoint. Nobody does that. But then you have to understand what the needs and why she's doing that. Well, she's used Excel a lot, and she'll be retiring 2 years. Change is hard, blah, blah, blah. Ask and understand. So the process really, what you think about is, number 1, what do I need to know? So before you slam a SharePoint solution or a site or whatever it may be, step back and understand what the business needs are. Top line business need, we need to improve productivity by 15%. Great. What else? So let me look at what the finance department is doing. They're doing a lot of stuff. What I highly recommend when you start doing this, pick low-hanging fruits. Pick things that are easily winnable, meaning, you can do it like that. That solution was like 2-3 minutes. But it's high value. Miss Sally was very happy. So what do you need to know? What are some of the pain points people are experiencing day in, day out? Where do I get this information? Who do I need to talk to? Again, projects are big in my company, and I know there's only one person processing expense information, so I talk to her. Get it, organize what you know, make sense out of it, and do I have enough information? If not, go back, talk to that person or other people. And you could do this throughout different initiatives or different type of entities or groups. The goal is to build solutions. The goal is not to showcase a fancy car and say, look how great SharePoint is. Because just like any fancy car, people will be impressed, don't get me wrong, for the first 10 minutes. And then once they look at this thing, wow, nice car, a lot of bells and whistles. It's a stick. I just learned how to ride a bike yesterday. So I don't have time for this. My resources are short. I can't go to training. I'll just leave this fancy car called SharePoint in the garage and stuff files there. I'm going to ride my bike to work because I know it works. My bike is called email. Right? And that's what we do, and it doesn't work. We don't just throw out a fancy car. If at all possible, we don't talk or use the word SharePoint when we build solutions. So when you elicit requirements, again, don't go around, and IT is notorious for this. How do you like your SharePoint site? What template do you want? At a fundamental level, that's okay, right? Scott, we have an internet, we have different departmental sites, that's cool. But then past that, we talk about business solutions, making people's job faster, easier, better. Don't use the S word. Use the other S word, solutions. Solutions matter, SharePoint doesn't matter. The next thing after you elicit requirements is you have to analyze. You take in all the information that you elicited make sense of it, because as you may already know, you can't do it all. You know how it is. Everybody wants everything for nothing yesterday. You can't do it all. So you have to make sense of it and look at the stated requirements versus the true requirements. Y'all follow me? That's different. And in a lot of cases, our users, our customers, are not being malicious either. You know, it's always, when things don't work out, you know, IT builds out something, you roll out your SharePoint solution, the business goes, this is not what I want. Well, you don't know what you want. Enough whining. Stand up or step up to be that chokeable neck. Right? Enough. Our job and our role is to help the business. And again, we have to facilitate this process. I'm not blaming IT or solution implementers that it's their fault, but what's not going to work is doing it from a perspective of, hey, docs, I want my SharePoint site. Okay, I'll see you in 6 weeks. It's done. And then you don't talk. Right? This is a process. So how do you analyze your requirements? You can listen. Number one, you profile your users. When I say profile, you think about, obviously, their role, their responsibility, their pain points, but also what their background is like. The misconception is people expect that everybody will jump on the enterprise social bandwagon, but the reality is the number one tool in the enterprise today is still email. A 1973 freaking technology. That's how we get job done. And that's fine. So you can't expect people to jump right away. You have to look at what needs to be done, what are the gaps, and then identify the real requirements. Okay? How do you do this? So I'm going to show you an example. Geez. Here we go. So let me kind of zoom it in, and then we'll kind of go through this together. So how do you analyze requirements? So one of the things that we do a lot as an organization, we help maximize the usage of the SharePoint platform and related technologies for project management. So you can look at how to run SharePoint, SharePoint Project, SharePoint Project Server, the whole 9 yards. And in a lot of cases, customers, when they come to us, they would say, hey, docs, we need Project Server, or we need SharePoint for project management. And again, I ask the question I ask all the time, okay. And I said, the technical part is straightforward, so let's talk about the process that you have. What is your pain? What do you want to solve? And the way I facilitate this, and me and my colleague, I get the stakeholders, the key people in the room, and then we say, okay, indulge me, forgive me, I don't know how your organization works. Take me through how a project transpires in your organization. We've gathered all these requirements, but we want a visual mapping so that we're on the same page as you are. Okay, Doc, so here's what happens. By the way, what I'm showing you here is what's called a swim lane diagram. It's a very powerful tool for modeling processes. And the reason why it's called swim lane is notice that it looks like different swim lanes. Each swim lane is designated for a specific, it's called actor or stakeholder. So you got the sponsor, manager, all that good stuff. But as they start, they go, okay, docs, this is how our project management process works. A sponsor might say, we need to work on this initiative. Is it approved? Yes. Once it's approved, a project manager is assigned. Okay, what happens next? Then the project manager would need to create a schedule, and most likely Microsoft project, because that's a requirement by the Office of Management and Budget, OMB. And then team members are assigned. So we step through this. It's amazing how many organizations that we work with going through this process have no processes. And that's not a surprise, but this is a good way to get folks on the same page and identify a process, at least initially. Y'all with me? So, after we do this, and guess what? The true requirements come up. Because when they first told me that, docs, we need portfolio management, we need this, that, the other, well, docs, for now, this is actually what we need. So you told me you need portfolio management, resource management, demand management. I don't see it here. Yeah, I don't think we need it for now. Yeah.
And again, they're not blatantly being malicious, they're throwing around buzzwords and what they think they need. So if you help them through this process, true requirements will come. Y'all follow me? This is the other value as you do this. Not only have we defined the process, we've also figured out a couple of things. We've figured out roles and responsibilities. And that's the other problem with a lot of SharePoint deployments. Now we get into the G word here, governance, but we never really specify the role and responsibility of the person involved. All we say, here's our governance document, go read it, and you'll know what to do. Not. Let me ask you this. Who has governance organization? SharePoint governance. Who's it not? Have you read it cover to cover? It's just like asking me, being an American, have you read the Constitution docs cover to cover? I'm ashamed to admit I haven't. Have you read the Constitution? Shame. Why haven't you read the Constitution?
I don't remember much of it other than what I learned in school.
Okay, so why? Why doesn't it motivate you to go and read it every day? It doesn't affect my life. It's not relevant. Y'all with me? Give my hair southern fire from South. Southeast Asia, that is Manila, Philippines. Okay, so that's it. A lot of these governance is good, but it's not relevant, and that's true when you identify requirements. Not only you're building solutions or identifying requirements for the solution, but every solution, somebody will be using it. And what are their roles and responsibilities? Y'all with me? Now, if you ask me, do I know the governance around stoplights? Of course, I know when it's red, I have to stop. Do I know the governance when do I pay my taxes? Of course, I pay before April 15th. I know upper management governance that I have to be home by 10 o'clock during the week or else my wife will kill me. Because it's relevant and there's consequences for rewards. Y'all follow? So, we define the process, we define roles and responsibilities, which you can write your little governance document with. But third, here's the more important thing. Let's talk about adoption. What we've just identified here, okay, project manager needs to do these things. Well, guess what? Since this is all you need to do, project manager, I guess this is all you need to learn. At least for this solution. Y'all follow me? Why would I send you to a 4-day SharePoint training that's irrelevant, whereas we can clearly tell that you need to verify the schedule, assign team members, synchronize with a SharePoint project site, blah, blah, blah. That's like a 2-hour training. For you, team member, for this solution, all you need is to update your task. That's like a 30-minute video that I record and show you. Y'all follow me? So analyzing your requirements is very important. How's everything so far? Useful? Yeah. Now, this is another example. This is using a technique called building a process flow. So you don't look at roles and responsibilities. This is actually for another customer we work with. They're a marketing organization, and they want to build like a vendor management solution on top of their SharePoint stack. So they say, we want this, people be able to register, look up their schedule, look up how much money they spend with us. So they keep saying, okay, we're listening down, okay, and I go, let's analyze this. So we model it with a process flow diagram. Now, past that, right? Once you've analyzed the requirement, it's time to validate. Okay? Requirements validation allows the user or users to confirm and prioritize with you the real requirements. Because at the end of the day, whatever they told you early on, whatever analysis you came up with, you still won't be able to do it. It's still way more than what you have time to do, the money to do, and the resources. So requirements validation is really looking at, is this what you need? And they'll realize, well, docs, that's too much time, money, and effort to do. Okay, now let's prioritize. Okay, so how do you do that? I have this nifty tool I share with people, and it works for a lot of stuff with SharePoint, so let me show this to you. This is an example. So this is a spreadsheet, and I'll give you a copy too, that I use, at least we use as a company internally when we work with organizations. So let me give you a background of this exercise here, this project. This is for an 8,000 people organization, and their project was to upgrade to SharePoint 2010. This was way back. And, you know, similar things. We initially gather requirements, but where are you guys? What do you need? What do you want to do? So we analyzed a lot of the different things they talked about. We want an intranet, we want department side, collaboration side. So some of them had processes, great. And then as we do that, part of the exercise, since this is a big project, we're going to interview or talk to key people in the different departments. So we talk to people in the operations group,
HR group, finance group, etc. So what we talked to them about, we spent an hour talking about what are some of the business challenges or business needs that you have. Remember, requirements, business needs first. Docs, we got this thing that we do SOP creation. It's so manual. You know, we have to go to the network share, get the Word document, fill it out, email it over. So as they're describing the business pain, in column C, I'm tying it or I'm mapping it to a SharePoint or related technology capability, high level. So as they're talking, I'm mapping it. Y'all see that? Because as you know, SharePoint can do a lot of stuff. But I want to make sure that as they're describing, just like what Miss Sally told me, I can say you need this, you need that, you need the other thing. And what at least initially, what I look at is just out-of-the-box stuff. And that's the rule of thumb. On your first pass, when you build your requirement solutions, you look at out of the box until you're very certain you cannot do it out of the box. Once you're certain you can't do it out of the box, the next thing is you look at third-party products. Custom code is the last resort. Y'all with me? And you all know for a lot of different reasons why that is. So just a tip, if somebody comes up to you, or if you're working with a so-called expert, and in your first 5 minutes, the first thing out of their mouth is, oh, we can build a solution package for that, run the PowerShell script, and deploy it. Poser alert. I'm not saying custom development is bad or wrong, but you should go through this process of out-of-the-box, third-party, and then custom, unless you can't. All right, so as they describe their pain and their need, as we finished the meeting, I asked a final question. I said, if there's something that we can do and a solution for you right now, what would that be? What would be the priority? HR might say, well, Dux, if we improve the onboarding process, if we automate it, we can provide hire people faster, better, efficient, more efficient, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I have them prioritize their business needs because they know their business better than I do. Y'all follow me? Once you do that, now you measure it. This is where validation comes in. In column A, now I flip the view. HR, operations, different departments. Column B are all the features and capabilities that I've extracted based on their business needs. You can see the mapping now, right? Well, we need Excel sync because Miss Sally, she likes Excel because we need to help her save time. Same idea here. For HR, we need to build a bunch of lists. We need to use document management capabilities, blah, 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 because it's going to solve these business pain. What's the business priority? A list are always going to be 5 or high priority. Your list, your library is always going to be up there. What's the size and effort to build these lists for HR? Now, what's a 2, Dux? I have my level of standardization. A 2 means 3 person weeks. Again, that may change depending on your skill set, your resources, what have you. So I want some concrete measurement. What's the impact to the business? 3, it's high impact. It's very valuable because it's going to help them save time, save money, whatever. How reusable are these lists that we're going to build for HR? 3 means it's very reusable, something we can templatize. So think about site templates, list templates, workflow templates, what have you. And then what's the total business value? It's a 9. So now what we've done here, friends, is now I have a clear ranking for HR of what's high value, what features are high value, what's secondary, what's tertiary. Y'all follow me? Now, you bring them into the conversation because here's what happens. And I know so because I walk into organizations like, you're the Windows admin. Now, on top of your day job, I now knight you the SharePoint dude. And your mission is to roll out SharePoint upgrade for 5,000 people in 2 weeks. Everybody with me? Okay? But what if you did this? Right? Your boss tells you that, fine, but I go and do my exercise, gather business needs, facilitate this conversation, prioritize. You present back to the boss and business owners,
This is what SharePoint upgrade means to us. So either I can do it all, it's going to take 30 years on top of my day job. That's like SharePoint 2050 over there. Or we have to figure out what we're going to do first, second, or third. Y'all follow me? Now, you also have to look at the reality of how much IT can do and cannot do. We have the business view of things, and then you have to have the IT view. If we roll these out, what's the implementation impact to IT? It's a 1. What does a 1 mean? I don't know, maybe 10 hours, because IT has to configure the site collection, enable account, whatever. What about support impact? It's a 1. It's 20 hours a month. Training impact, it's a 1. 20 hours a month, or at least initial 20 hours. What's the total IT impact? It's a 3. So now you can look at this and say, well, it's high value for HR, it's a 9, but since it's a 3 for IT, we don't have the budget for this fiscal year to do this. Y'all follow me? This is a great way to get the business and IT on the same page. The way you're going to do it, the way you can't do it. And then the business might say, no, it's very important because we can help save so much time and effort and frustration. IT, you can now say, well, okay, our goal is to put SharePoint as a platform in place, keep the lights up, but since this has great business value to you, HR, why don't you pony up? Maybe we can send some of your people to training to do this and manage this, or maybe we can hire a consultant for you to help this solution for you. Y'all with me? You talk to your business around SharePoint, around solutions around SharePoint this way, they'll get it. Because the big disconnect is always, how do you like your SharePoint here? And they go, this is not what I want. Does this help? You guys want this?
Yeah.
$100 a down.
Just kidding. But in the end, what happened to this organization, you see the colors here. The group came into a consensus that we're going to do a 3-phase rollout. 1, 2, 3. This was a 15-month rollout. Did anything change? Yeah, stuff changed. But we have a baseline of what the priorities are, what the business needs are, and what features that we're going to use. It's not just throwing out there, we want my sites. ¿Por qué? Right? Now, once you've validated what the needs are, put it on paper. Formalize it. You take everything you've collected up to this point in time and formally generate a requirements document. And I'll show you an example in a second. It should include all the requirement statements, everything you've elicited, your process diagram, traceability matrix, the spreadsheets that I showed you. And the key is, when you write your requirements document, I'm all about simplicity. Around here in DC, I get like these RFP or requests, RFI kind of stuff. It's like reading the Constitution. I read it like 5 times, I still don't know what they're asking for. To me, making simple and straightforward is key. So just a tip. This is how, at least me, how I frame and write requirements. So really, your requirement should have good content, the right structure, and it's readable. That's all it needs, right? And when you write your requirements, again, I'm not saying this is the rule, but this is something that I follow and I do. Very simple. Regardless if it's a business requirement, user requirement, or system requirement, it follows this structure where a subject shall be able to do something within a specific criterion. And this criterion is very important because if you don't put that in, that means it's going to work 100% of the time. So let me give you an example. Again, let's look and see what we had early on. SharePoint shall increase finance department's productivity by 15%. Subject, capability, criterion. Y'all follow me? The user shall be able to retrieve and synchronize project expense information in SharePoint from Excel without relying on email. Subject, capability, criterion. And here's the most important part that we miss all the time. Why this is so valuable, especially at the user level. I set the expectation. Okay, Miss Allie, this is what we're going to do for you. And by the way, once we're done, I'm going to go back to all the user requirements that we discussed, and we're going to test each thing and make sure it satisfies you. Y'all with me? And then when she says, I don't like how it looks, make it pretty.
I don't see it as a part of the user requirement. Let's go back to the big Excel sheet where all the business needs are. I don't see making it pretty a business need. Do you feel the love? Because now we're setting expectation that you're going to get exactly as what we discussed. Now, making it pretty, now don't get me wrong, I'm making fun of that because everybody said they want their SharePoint site pretty. It may be a valid need, but not for this piece of the exercise. The other part, and I stressed this with the folks yesterday in the workshop, it's unfortunate that SharePoint is a 12-year-old technology, yet people still think of it as a website that has to be pretty. Certainly you can use SharePoint to build websites, but to me, the power of SharePoint is it enables people to do their jobs faster, better, sooner. It's a great business tool, and people don't look at it that way. What do you mean, Docs? You know what the two most powerful or used business tools in the companies today are? What are those two tools? Excel, email, or Outlook. Would you agree? You can't live without it, right? You go to work, you fire Excel, it's on your third monitor, or Outlook, it's on your third monitor all day long. Right? Do users ever come to you and say, hey, Docs, I don't like how Excel looks. Make it pretty. You have users telling you that? No, they don't think of Excel as something to be pretty. It's an essential business tool getting my job done. Y'all follow me? That's the perspective you want for the business with SharePoint as well. Well, heck, when Miss Sally was able to do the Excel synchronization, she was stoked. She was like, well, Docs, what about this? What about that? What about the other? Well, for those, you can't really do it with Excel anymore. Well, you might just have to go to the browser and use SharePoint with work. Oh, I'm good with that. If it helps me save more time, I'm good with that. But take the baby step approach. Use things people are familiar with. Excel and Outlook as an entry point to SharePoint to get their job done faster, better, sooner. And you can introduce other stuff later. So I asked Miss Sally, I said, Miss Sally, you're saving 2 hours every month now. What are you doing now? Oh, I learned how to use Facebook and play Candy Crushers. Now, before we wrap up, I want to show you an example. Here is an example of a requirements document for a full-blown intranet implementation. And I've cleaned up actual customer names and whatnot. But this is very detailed because this was back in 2007, I believe. They had nothing, and it start from scratch. So everything from the business background to the functionality to flowchart, everything is here. Okay? Is this something you'd like to get as well? So now, it's a sample. What I don't want you to do with this is take this, find and replace with your company name, go! That's what you do with your governance document. So with that, again, when you build requirements, always start with the business. And look at what the user needs are around change, adoption. Then look at how you can shape the solution to support them that can drive business value. How's everything? Useful? Yeah. All right. Questions? Okay, if you have questions, tomorrow I'm at the booth, and hopefully I see everyone at the keynote. But there's my contact info. Feel free to come up if you have other questions. Other than that, enjoy the rest of the evening. They're throwing a party there, open bar. Have fun, and we'll see you there.